Eloquent silence. Kenneth Grant. Imagine a vast canvas peopled with countless individuals and teeming with events too ramifying and varied to enumerate, but which all fall into such broad categories as scenes of hatred and animosity, of pleasure and sorrow, of elation and despondency, of crime and blacklust. Now, as that canvas is void of real content but only represents the fevered dreams of the artist who committed the complex scene to its surface, so also is the world around us, such a mental picture void of all reality and all meaning except that which we, as limited and fragmentary expressions of the whole, as jivas in fact read in it. Bhagavan taught us that however hard we try to extricate ourselves from this tangled web of deception, from this glorious and terrifying labyrinth of Maya, we shall never succeed so long as the void nature of the forms we see around us is not utterly realized. Then will all dissolve into the void substratum of all things, the pure and faultless self which emanated the dream for its delight in its role as jiva. To do this, we have to step outside the clamor and the noise. We have to reject the cacophonous mantra of the samsara, which is meaningless noise, or else a symphony of merely human perfection, and merge with the essence of that silence, which is the mantra of the void. In the still, unfathomable regions of our being, there lies the common ground of all, the ground from whence all images spring from, whence all desires and dreams find their origin and source. And this base of the universal and eternal life is perfection itself, for its void of all conceptual thoughts, of all form, and of all that we know as pertaining to the samsara. Beyond even the tranquility of sattva, this one indestructible ground of all shines as the self of all, and may be entered through the silent and unmindful regions of the heart, wherein lies coiled the adamantine secret of its glorious uniqueness. It is to the end that we may free ourselves from the glistening webs of thought whereby we have so surely chained ourselves that Bhagavan brought us the incalculable gift of his life on earth as Sri Ramana, asking, "Who am I?" stepping outside of the canvas at all times with unceasing vigilance and watchfulness, we may bring to birth that unutterable compassion for all beings which he manifested before the eyes of all, thus living the truth of sage Milarepa's words. If you realize the wideness, compassion will arise within your hearts. Nowhere before in all the world has so perfect a proof of the truth of these words been evidenced by the common man. Nowhere before has the complete merging of bhakti and jnana been demonstrated before the eyes of the myriad throng. And if we, in the life of the seething canvas, yet fail to see the truth and endeavor to extricate ourselves from the suicidal chain of thoughts and events, who is to blame? Yet it was through silence rather than through speech that Bhagavan conveyed to us the supreme token of his inestimable worth for us today. His words, as emitted through the physical frame of Sri Ramana, were destined to pass away in accordance with the very nature of the samsara of which they formed part, but his silence, his ineffable mantra of the void places of the heart, vibrates now and forever for all those who, for one moment, even step beyond the pale of the disconnected picture of events and plunge within past thought, past action, past all that characterizes what, for want of a better phrase, we call the outer and limited life of the jiva. In Bhagavan's silence, as it abides at the core of each of the various manifestations of the One Self, may be found the priceless jewel which He secreted for us in the lotus of His rapturous life. This mantra, vibrating in tune with the heart of the hill, which stands silently witnessing the passing of civilizations, of hopes and dreams, of sorrows and joys, is potent to reap the rich harvest of enlightenment for those who, instead of bickering and squabbling over trifles, withdraw the mind from its extroverted function of thought and fix it firmly on the void nature of things, which are then seen to pass by as a dream of the canvas of the unattached mind. There is no matter of making the mind a blank or stopping forcibly the thinking process, but merely of stepping aside and watching the endless stream flow by, while realizing constantly the void nature of all the ideas and thoughts that take shape in the mind's workroom. Contact the substratum of these myriad images, and there will be found the pure river of the one consciousness, irresistible in its adamantine might, calling the jiva to merge again with its source, to let the shadows and scenes be mirrored on the shining surface of its unsurpassable brilliance, and to fathom the depths from whence they spring to take on their phantom life, before once more melting and merging in the mighty current that bears life endlessly on. Nor is it a matter of merely stopping the ears to the din and the roar of the torrent as it flows and leaves about us, but of understanding the void nature of noise, as when a word that is uttered incessantly again and again becomes inane and void of all meaning, thus liberating the mind temporarily from the shackles of conventional significance. It is only when the senses, each in turn, are thus realized to be founded on a non-real basis, that the mind is free to return to its pristine, natural state and mirror the pure consciousness which it verily is, bereft of all the meanings and significations which we, as limited jivas, put upon things for our own selfish advantage. Call Divine, Jan 1st, 1954. Om Shri Ramanarpanamastu. Thou art the only real, the center light, the heart. Thine is the wondrous power that off from thee is not. That power whirls the roll of subtle films of mind before thy pure white light, thus colored forms stream forth. Athwart the mental lens, on thee the seeming screen, as in a cinema show. The many change and pass, the one remainest thou. Arunachala Ashtakam,